20 years later, life after an affair. For those of you wondering what your life could be like in 20 years with your unfaithful partner, I want to give you a peek into mine. Keep in mind everyone is different and you may have a way better future ahead. This is not to discourage you, only to warn you that it's not easy. Basically, 20 years ago, back when my wife and I were engaged, she was still young and immature, both 20 years old, and spent 6 months cheating on me and taking demented pleasure in lying and gaslighting me. She would intentionally start arguments over stupid things and then storm off for hours, and come back looking very pleased with herself and refuse to tell me where she went. I was young and naive enough to believe her when she said she wasn't cheating. All my previous relationships had ended with me being cheated on, so she was adamant she would never do that to me. Well, months after it ended, she finally came clean with the classic drip feed of admission. First, it was one time only because he forced himself on me, and when I said I was calling the police, suddenly it wasn't so forced. Then it only happened twice. By the end of the month, I finally got the truth that it had been constant over 6 months, and I had a complete breakdown and told her we were done. But because I was an idiot and thought we were perfect otherwise, I decided to try again and push through, determined to make it work. We eventually got married a few years later, 17 years ago, and now here I am with an update, to give you a peek of your possible future 20 years after an affair. She's been otherwise excellent, and I genuinely believe she hasn't cheated again, for what it's worth. Not that it matters. She has worked very hard on herself and is mostly a fantastic partner. I ignored the pain at first, but it festered, like a cancer, and slowly started eating me alive. Every time I asked her for answers, because she was so ashamed, she'd always deflect. Why keep bringing up the past when I only want us to move forward? Telling you would only make you suffer more, and I can't bear to do that to you. Etc. But her lack of clarity, coupled with a few niggling issues, just wouldn't go away. She was raised Christian and would get upset every time we slept together because God will send me to hell because we aren't married. Yet no tears were shed when she was with him. She would be constantly paranoid about getting pregnant despite being on the pill, and making me use protection up to 4 months after she started taking it, so I never understood the paranoia until I learned that every encounter with him was bareback even before she started contraception, and he was the first one to get that experience with her for months before she let me do that. That bit still stings. My mind is wrecked. 20 years of constant stress that, despite assurances, I could come home tomorrow and find her in bed with some other guy, because I never got a reason why she even did it in the first place. I think she was just curious and liked the thrill, and I was boring in comparison, but her only response is, "I don't know why I did it, so I guess I'll never know." If I don't know what set it off in the first place, how will I know what to look for that could set it off again? It's like walking blindfolded through a field of landmines and trusting the people who set the mines that they're all deactivated. I've been on antidepressants for years now at maximum dose, and they don't do a damn thing anymore. I'm on heroic doses of morphine for a 24-hour headache that never goes away again. I've not told her this, but the endocrinologist believes it's from stress and PTSD causing constant tension headaches. It's crippled my ability to do most things, and I know she resents it, but there's no fix, so that added tension just hangs over the relationship. I've seen multiple different therapists, and all it does is make me resent life even more by dragging it up again. Coping skills are useless because the only coping skill that would work is a time machine that could undo what happened. So until that's invented, I'm stuck with this. It may work for some, but it hasn't worked for me because the problem is fundamentally unfixable. Like trying to fly by flapping your arms really hard. Here's where things are at. If I left her, all that would happen is the next partner would cheat on me, so there's no point. We've built this entangled life that for the most part is great, except I'm incapable of experiencing happiness and joy in anything. Even hobbies I used to love are now just pointless. Add in the constant weight of chronic pain and I feel like I'm one straw away from snapping like a twig. Every single thing she resents in our relationship, my inability to do things like I used to, not being the fun-loving person I used to be, etc., are all a result of her actions back then. If I tell her that, she thinks I'm blaming her for everything, but it's a simple fact. I'm barely keeping myself sane, but my mind constantly flashes back to something that happened a lifetime ago that I'll never get a satisfactory answer to, because one doesn't exist. If I stay, I'm miserable and suffer. If I leave the life we built together, I'm even worse off, not just miserable, but alone and unable to support myself on a single income alone. I've often thought about revenge cheating, but what would it accomplish? It would be inauthentic and wouldn't change the fact that she intentionally crushed my soul for no reason other than selfishness, and hurting her back won't change that fact. This is a lose-lose situation either way, and I'm not looking for sympathy. I wake up every day wishing I could end everything permanently, but I don't have the guts to do it, so I wouldn't. But it doesn't change the fact that it's the only thing I can think about day in and day out. It's like the thought of an instant fix is taunting me because it knows I don't have the balls to do it, so it's laughing even harder at me. She is now very dedicated to me and I honestly can't fault her at all apart from the above-mentioned things, but it's just too little too late because the damage has already been done and there's no fixing it. The point of this is to say, if you're expecting to reconcile and eventually get over what your partner did, don't be too hard on yourself and don't expect too much because it may not ever happen. You might end up like me, miserable, suffering, and regretting every life decision. Constant depression and paranoia, pain, self-esteem issues, the potential side effects never end. I don't recommend being cheated on to anyone. Sometimes there is no winning strategy. Sometimes all you can do is lose the best you can. Incredibly bleak, but also incredibly necessary for people who are considering reconciliation to read. I just want to say I'm sorry that this is happening to you, and I think that a lot of what you're dealing with is because you never got to heal. You rug swept and never had closure from that portion of trauma, so it's been an open wound. You probably have some manner of PTSD from it. You're saying you're still having flashbacks after 20 years. It's because you still have completely unprocessed trauma, and a partner that was never willing to help you overcome it. You said the problem is unfixable. Well, it actually is, but that leads to number 2. You're absorbing the sunk cost fallacy. I get it, I was married for 15 years and after she cheated on me in year 8, it took me until she cheated again in year 15 for me to leave her because I, also, thought about how much work I had put into this relationship. The problem, as you say, is fixable, but it involves seeing past the sunk cost of a 20-year marriage and realize that life is better without seeing this person who never helped you overcome your trauma every single day, a reminder of what is causing you to feel this way day in and day out. Story 2. Never take them back. Once a cheater, always a cheater. No matter how much they plead, beg, swear on a loved one's grave they changed and will treat you better, they won't. I, 28F, started dating my ex-boyfriend, 26M, in 2018. We were barely together and he cheated. He cheated in 2019 and 2020. In 2021 I finally got the courage to move out, and he was in a relationship 3 days after I moved out. I posted about this in 2021 but deleted it. Well, I took him back again after that. We lasted another 3 years where it literally seemed he changed. But he just hit it better. So in total 6 years wasted. I never lived with him again after I moved out in 2021. In fact, I moved to a town 50 kilometers away to work on my career. He would drive to me like every Friday night and leave the Monday morning. 3 weeks ago, I found out the rest of the week he was sleeping at a woman's house every night and he kept their affair secret for a year. Woman about 15 years older than him with 2 kids. And when I found out, gaslighting, we are just friends, you are insecure. I took off work early when I found out, drove to her house and dropped his things off that he left at my house over the weekend and said, you want my man so bad, have him. Oh, the shame and anger he felt. Because I did that, I was the worst human being on earth cause I embarrassed him by dropping his things at her house. Also, the cheating was my fault because I did not give him enough attention and only saw him on weekends. Oh, and by the way, she was aware of me, so don't feel bad for her. No contact. Blocked. Look in my blocked folder, lo and behold, there he is saying how much he loves me and wishes he did not do the things he does. He does not know why he is that way. Wishes me a happy birthday. Loves me so much. Still blocked. I'm in therapy and told my therapist this and all the other things he did, and although everyone calls their ex a narcissist, she agreed that he is. Even said the whole can't diagnose without seeing them is BS because narcissists will lie to the therapist. In short, you guys, even after being cheated on our entire relationship, trauma bonds are real. I still struggled to get through the day and keep him blocked everywhere. I still struggle to not check my blocked folder. I struggle to not reply when I see there is something. But serial cheaters do not change. I have always taken him back. It's been 6 years. This is going to be the hardest thing I ever do. But I will not go back. This is the thing that everyone needs to understand. You will not be the exception to rule by staying or forgiving. You are not the 1 in 10,000. They will get better at hiding. They will gaslight you and blame you for not healing fast enough.